Hi guys! So welcome to this class session on blocks to listening. I'm basically going to go over the list that is in your textbook and just go over each item. And we ask that you please go over this list as well in your text and come to class next week if you're willing and talk about the ones that you identify with. So let's get started. Okay, I'm on page 212 in the print version of the book. So the first one is mind reading. This is when you assume you know what the other person wants or feels without asking. Sometimes we can get a general idea based on body language and tone of voice and that sort of thing, but it can get dangerous in relationships if we start to assume without really knowing. And I know this is something that I used to deal with quite a bit. When I became aware of it, I started to clarify and ask and check the facts and all of that good stuff, and that really made all the difference. The second one is rehearsing, and that's when you plan what you want to say next without really listening and being present for the other person. How can you really listen to what's going on if you're sitting there in your head while they're talking going, oh my god, I'm still going to say this, I'm going to say that, and no, but she needs to know this, or he needs to know that. So rehearsing can definitely get in the way of effective listening. The next block to listening is filtering, and this is when you only listen to the parts of the conversation that you want to hear and that you want to listen to, even when the other parts might be really important to the other person. It can be difficult to sit through things that you don't want to hear, but if the relationship means something to you or you know it's important to maintain the relationship, it's important to listen to what's important to the other person as well. The next one is daydreaming, and this is when you get caught up in your memories or fantasizing while the other person is talking, so you kind of drift off into your own little world and you're thinking about other things, and then they're done talking and there's that awkward pause when they're waiting for your response and you have no idea what they just said. The next one is advising, and I kind of cringed a little because I feel like I do this with one of my really close friends, and she pointed it out somewhat a few months ago. We got into our first argument ever after being friends for years, but I'm glad we did because she expressed something that had bothered her, which is that I tend to look for solutions and try to solve, come up with suggestions to solve our problems rather than just listening. Some people just want you to listen. Some people aren't looking for you to come up with strategies and to analyze them in your head and to do all of that. So if someone asks for advice, or if you gently say, would you like my suggestions around this, that can be really helpful. But at the time that they're actually speaking, rather than starting to strategize in your head about what suggestions and solutions you might give to them, just listen. The next one is sparring. None of us like to be invalidated, but when we interrupt other people and argue with them while they're trying to express themselves, we're definitely not listening. The next one I used to be able to relate to a lot, and it has to do with stubbornness and willfulness over willingness, and it's being right. And this is when you ignore any information that could potentially show that you are not right in the conversation, that you are not the one that has the facts straight, and so on. It can be a real ego thing, but we're not listening if we're on the defense. Even if we don't think that the person is accurate in what they are saying about us, or if we start to realize that we are not right in the situation, or if we really think we are right, it's important to hear the other person out, process it, absorb it a little bit, and then respond. The next one is derailing, and this is when you just totally derail the conversation and change the subject because you don't like what you've heard and you don't want to talk about it anymore. Oh my gosh, I used to do this one a lot too. So someone would bring up something that was really difficult or upsetting or maybe triggering, and I would be like, oh, I have to make sure that TiVo recorded my show, or oh my gosh, did you hear about what happened with Susan, or whatever it might be. That's different from if you actually detach and dissociate and you become disconnected and you have to bring yourself back, of course. I think for a long time I did this semi-unconsciously. Like I would realize it, and then the particular person I'm thinking of in relationship would kind of go with it and not say, hey, I was talking about this. And come to think of it, other people have done that with most of the time no one's ever said, hey, we were talking about this. They kind of let me derail the conversation. But I don't think they felt very listened to, and maybe they thought, oh, this is too much for her to handle. But if you become aware of it, you can realize it is a block to listening. If you need to take that space, if something is triggering, if it is upsetting, if you need to change the subject for self-care, express that and let them know that this is not something that you can listen to right now. That would be more effective. Last but not least, no one likes to be patronized, and this one is placating. So going, I know, you're right, you're absolutely right. I couldn't, I'm so sorry that yeah, I agree with you, before you actually hear what they have to say. And sometimes people do this because they want to shut down. They don't want to get into anything confrontational. They don't want to argue, but it can make the other person feel really invalidated. So without judgment of yourself and with compassion for any of these blocks that you may have experienced or can identify with, are you willing to share? Let us know. And if you feel that you have one that's particularly strong, please feel free to reach out for DBT skills coaching around it. Thank you guys so much, and see you in the next lesson. Bye for now.